So good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending on what time you are viewing this. So I am with Tom Nicholson from PROACTIon, Northamptonshire. Tom has been a Taekwondo champion. He's got multiple awards, and he has one of the biggest martial arts businesses in the region or in the country. And soon he wants it to be in the world, I'm sure. So Tom is going to share what he's been doing in his business, his story, and what he's been doing in these tough times. So Tom, would you like to introduce maybe tell us a little bit about your background and what you've been doing and things?
Yeah, certainly. Firstly, thank you for having me on, first of all. It's very kind of you. We've, so yeah, the background of the business, we started 2002. I had a separate business at the time, which was a business. We started off as a once a week small martial arts club. And martial arts really was my passion, although I think I probably wasn't conscious enough of anything at that age, to be honest, but I wasn't consciously aware of how much of my passion it was to help develop, to teach other people, but on such a bigger level than just kicking and punching of martial arts, to help develop them in many ways. We grew quickly. I sold my other business, which was in scrap, basically. So that business was a successful sale, or so thought. I learned a lot through that sale. Got ripped off in the end. That's a whole nother video. And actually my kind of main business mentor throughout my life has always been my dad, who's always had his own relatively small business. So I've always gone to him naturally for advice and things, and he's always backed everything I've done. But I always remember the day that I said to him, the business is gone now, I'm just going to focus on teaching martial arts, and we're going to have full-time premises, we're going to have teams of instructors, we're going to have thousands of members, and we're going to make a huge difference to people's lives. We're going to work in schools every day of the week, and I could see how it was all going to work. And he went, "You going to make any money doing that though, Tom?" And in a lot of ways, because he's been a huge mentor to me and still is, a lot of ways that gave me the fire in my belly I needed, really. And we achieved all of those things that I've just mentioned. Up until the 20th of March, if that was the Friday, when our current 16 gyms, 1,200 member school, main gym in Northampton, we cover Northamptonshire, Bedfordshire, Buckinghamshire, we're just into Oxfordshire now, Leicester, Coventry, all 16 shut down like that, which was, I'm not saying we're unique in any way, because there's so many people in the same situation. And we needed to adapt quickly. So we've done that. By the Monday, we had a full online timetable. 80% of our membership base is kids. And we now deliver all of our programs. So we start at age 4. So our 4 to 6-year-old program, our junior taekwondo, our adults taekwondo, our kickboxing, our boxing sessions, and our fitness classes, as well as some of the sideline programs that we have. I say sidelines, they're major to the business, such as our junior leadership, where we take kids between the age of 10, 15 and teach them leadership skills through theory sessions, but also through the power of martial arts and their role in the classes changing, etc. We've taken all of it online. And we've done that by the Monday morning. It's a bit of a busy weekend, that one. Yeah. And just trying to service those people. I do also do business coaching for small businesses as well. That's kind of, we've managed to just maintain what we were doing before, really. And that was all online anyway, because we've got one international client, but the rest are in various places around the country. So that's where we're at with the business.
Have you gained more people now since you've been online?
We've not gained more people because it's not something that I've gone into as yet. Lots of people in the industry have. I was having a joking conversation this morning because one of my biggest weaknesses is tech. Since that Monday morning, I've been inundated with calls from people in our industry asking how to make it all work. So I had 3 calls just last week about, how does this happen on Zoom? How can you make that happen? How can you make this happen? we did one class with 120 kids in it, age 4, 5 and 6. It was mental, but it was a lot of fun. And they all developed and loved it. And now every Tuesday, we have one class on a Tuesday where we're averaging 120 people in there. We split them out to different instructors and different groups and things like that. We've not marketed for additional students, just because I personally don't think it's right to be doing that right now. I appreciate the arguments the other side. There are schools that are doing. And that's one of the things I was going to say, with everybody adapting their business. Something I've been talking about with my clients is that, yes, we've lost a chunk of students, don't get me wrong, and it's been difficult, but our market, our clients are physical, what we're now terming as physical people, as in they want to get physical, they want to be in front of the instructor in a class environment. Yeah. 3 weeks before lockdown, I'd actually launched a new business, martialartslessonsonline.com. Oh, wow. And just done a soft launch with a program to our members, whereby our 4 to 6, it's a program for the parents of our 4 to 6 year old students, to be able, so that the parents can learn and have all the lesson plans, etc., to teach those 4, 5 and 6 year olds and support their class learning at home. So we launched that 3 weeks before, and it's a paid for service, and a lot of that we've had to make free now to our members, etc. But our market, other than the few that had purchased that at that time, I say the few, the people that had purchased that at the time, are the physical people. For an online marketing effort, which certain aspects of the industry are starting to do, I believe it's a different client base. Right. There are clubs out there who are, I'm not meaning to sound derogatory to them at all, but in my view are too singular with their marketing mix. So for instance, they will just market on Facebook, for example. So what we refer to those as the Facebook clubs. All of their members are people who are on Facebook, who have come through Facebook, etc. I believe in a similar way that we've been singular, in that our market are the physical clientele. Going forwards, I think there's 3 membership bases now, really. It's opened up new markets. There's physical only people, there's online only people, and let's be real, what we do is specialize in building confidence in children. That's our main number one thing. And our kids classes are called Confident Kids.
And how are you doing that? How do you give those kids that confidence?
Lots of ways. Through the martial arts, obviously we teach, first of all, getting them to interact in a class, for example. So the 4, 5 and 6 year olds, one of the things that we do with them, first of all, and we do this every class, is yes, they do their warm up, but they use their voices as well. So they're using verbal cues throughout all of the skills that they're learning. Now, what they don't realize is that they're then within a group of people, and they're projecting their voice. Now it's safe because they're in a class of between 10 and 18 other children of the same age, and they're all projecting their voice at the same time in a structured, organized manner, but they're projecting that voice. And then we break them off into their smaller groups, and they're still doing similar. And then we develop into singular questions, where they're then answering questions in front, with all their peers, as they're learning similar skills in school and classes. But then we platform them as well. So we'll start to then bring them to the front of the class. As we train our instructors, we try to catch them doing things right a lot. So we'll catch what they're doing right, and we'll platform them, and we'll say, look, see if you can do, it's great. Or me standing up and performing a skill, they can't relate to that at age 4. Another 4, 5 or 6 year old stood in front of them and performing a skill. They relate to that. So it actually brings up the standards of the class as well. So we start to build their confidence in many, many ways, but that's one example. But I feel we've missed a whole market, because there's a whole market of kids that aren't confident, that are coming to us physically, but they've had to take that step of walking through the door. There's a whole market of people who are lacking confidence or time or support at home, or whatever the issue may be, that actually, if we can reach them in their home, we can overcome a lot of those barriers, and they then become our online market. And I'm talking predominantly here about kids, but we service from age 4 up to, I think our oldest student at the moment is 68, and we've had older members than that. So, we go right through the spectrum. But then the third market would be those that that are doing a mix of both. So I think the opportunity at the moment is to open up other markets, but I'm also just wary at the moment whereby if we can get by financially without pushing in people's faces, there are some people who aren't particularly financially affected. We've got some services for those people, you know, if they want it. Like all of our instructors offer one-to-ones over Zoom now. Right. And the feedback and response from that's been phenomenal. But I think we're probably at least 3 or 4 weeks away from actually putting out kind of, I'm going to use the word aggressive, I don't mean it in that as much as that, but aggressive adverts of come and join something new, just because it's been a sensitive time for so many people.
So with that as well, because is it John Wick, or he's been doing that morning?
Joe Wicks. John Wicks.
John Wicks. Yeah, that's it. John Wick. Yeah, God, that ain't for kids.
Yeah.
Joe, morning. Are your classes now? Are you been doing that every day at particular times now? How do people come in to join that? Are they just for your existing members, or are you opening that for other people to come in who might not be? So
currently we did it, and we thought lots about this. Actually, I had a conversation with somebody. I actually set up the group on Facebook. Invited people, and I think we had over 100 members in less than 5 minutes of people accepting this group invite, and then I killed the group quick. Where I'd sat there, it was quite late in the evening, and I went, do you know what? I'm just going to teach the whole world as of tomorrow. So we'd been shut down the Friday night. I think this was the Saturday night. It was the Saturday night. I'm going to set this group up, and I'm going to, no, it was the Sunday night. I'll tell you why. It was the Sunday night because I went, I'm going to teach everybody. And they're all come on, and yes, they're all going to get it for nothing. And the hope being that at the end of it, you know, they'd join one of our schools or a martial arts school in their area, because I'm passionate about serving people through the skills that martial arts and the benefits that martial arts offers. This is going to be great. And then had a conversation. They went, what about all your current members who are still paying, you know, to be members to receive your service? So I went, oh yeah, quite kill the group. I need to think about this and put some time into this and do this properly. And the next morning woke up and Joe Wicks was on breakfast TV saying he was going to be the nation's PE teacher. So he got the idea from me officially. And he's done a great job, and he's given a few quid to the NHS. So fair play to him. So at the moment, all our online provision is to members only. We do it via Zoom and via our private members Facebook group. We have a lot of programs planned for our online service. We've got 8 programs documented with a release program over the next 2 years. And that was all lined up, ready to go, obviously, before the big change. Those things are still going to happen. And we will start to target the online market, as I referred to earlier, for everybody to join in. So,
because everything now is, I mean, everything is moving online, and we have a digital media business, so we're seeing that trend on online and sales and procurement on that side of the business. But it'd be a big change for you, isn't it, as a business that relies on people to come in through the door and train and be disciplined and doing it early doors, to then literally almost overnight stop.
Well, and for that reason, we had to keep it very, very simple. So when we kicked off the first week, we just did what we've referred to as our one-way classes, which meant the instructors stood in the front of the camera. We ran them as webinars, so we could have, you know, multiple instructors in there. So we had like one in their home, another in their home, and one would deliver the session whilst the other one would maybe perform a lower grade syllabus, etc., so that people could just watch the webinar and train at home. But so many people aren't tech savvy. So many people didn't use Zoom prior to coronavirus. Educating over 1,200 members on that overnight was going to be a big task. So we had to keep it simple. We kept our timetable very simple. And then we took 3 weeks to introduce two-way Zoom. So we now have those classes where we're allowing people into the meetings, separating them off into different meeting rooms. They have set levels and set programs, have set instructors now. So it's all organised in that way. It takes a few minutes when they come in, but everybody's aware of that. We've been running that for a couple of weeks now, and it's getting smoother. And in the middle of that, we released our pre-record site as well, again, just for our members. So because we're building up the libraries for all of these other programs, what we did was we've dumped a load of it into our existing online platform that we were using to launch the new business. And we've given them basically it's a private course which is a train at home course, and we've given that to them for the period of lockdown just to help serve our members, so that they've now got 3 ways that they're accessing it, or three forms of things they can access. They can access the one-way classes, they can access the 2-way, and they can access pre-records at any time they wish.
Okay, so I mean, I know. I mean, there's a lot of kids locally that you're teaching now. You are on the board, isn't it, for Taekwondo? Is it England? You're on the.
Yeah, I stepped down actually. I stepped down last year. I was the president for ITF Taekwondo in England. Yes, yeah, which was a voted role, which I was voted into. It's a voluntary position. And that's kind of the national, well, it's the national governing body for Taekwondo, for ITF Taekwondo in England. Okay.
So what advice, because obviously for you, you've had your business quite some time, you've been very successful, you've got it to the size you have. Overnight, it's been sort of not disappeared, but had to completely change your model to serve all your members. You've done that. And I know that you coach other martial arts companies and businesses on how to sort of follow in the success steps that you've taken, isn't it really? You know, on what you've been doing. What advice would you give a business that is doing martial arts then in this current climate?
To keep it simple, first of all, because I think the overriding thing is there's lots of people who've gone out there and gone, yeah, just do everything online, tell them it's online, that'll be okay. It won't be okay. What we're doing at the moment as an industry is we're hustling, and we're taking physical members online, but they're not online members. They're not on online market. If you look at the demographics, they're a different market. So for me, 2 things really is keep it as simple as possible, because we're trying to convert one market demographic into actually being another, which is almost impossible, but we're doing it to hold on as long as and retain those people as long as we can. So to keep it simple and aligned with that is to do one thing at a time. So, you know, my gut reaction when we shut down was, right, we need to do 1-way Zoom. We need the pre-record site out. We need to do 2-way Zoom. I need to teach the nations PE every morning. We need to do this. If I'd have been let loose like that, which is my personality, but I've got a fantastic team of diverse people and we're all really aware of each other's skills. So those that need to pin me down from time to time and that I will go, oh crap, yeah, you've given me the kick up the arse that I needed to just stop for a second, have done that. And I believe if I'd gone off in all those angles, which I say is in my nature, it would have been a scattergun and it would have all been done 50% rather than doing one thing 100%. So if any of the people listening haven't read The One Thing, which is a great book, read it and just do one thing at a time. Get it right. There was a lot of panic. And I think in the position we sit in as martial arts school owners, which is leaders within our communities, there is a great importance, in my view, to reduce panic, not reduce the enormity of the situation because it is what it is, but to reduce that panic down. And one of the ways to do that, as I say, is to get one thing done at a time and take a methodical approach, really.
And I think one thing that's quite good from a martial arts background, and I think this applies in business, we were discussing yesterday, is discipline. In martial art, you're teaching kids discipline, which is one of their first things. But in business, discipline is so important, and even more important than ever right now, to schedule what you're doing, what you're going to achieve, and how you're going to do it, and just keep discipline. Because actually right now it's very easy to sort of relax and, you know, put shorts on and just chill. And okay, that side of things is okay, but you could relax the busyness and the discipline in isn't it? I mean, business and discipline go hand in hand really for successful.
Yeah, sure. Discipline and consistency. And that's where we've emerged, our programs have merged towards, because of my background of coaching on a business level as well as in martial arts. So the consistency of it, and taking my own personal example, I went the other way of not relaxing, of doing, you know, trying to do everything overnight, going crazy, burning myself out. And I realized quite quickly, and it only comes from my martial arts background really, that actually I need some discipline in here. And as we were chatting earlier, we referred to about our family day on Thursdays and sticking to that. Yeah. You know, so we quite early on put in a family timetable for all of us. So my wife's a private practitioner in the health sector, so she's still working. So she needs set time where she can do that. You know, and we've got 4 kids between us, so we need to manage that as well as manage the main business, PROACTION. So there's a lot going on, you know. So it takes that discipline to manage all of that.
Yeah. And I think that there's another thing that's really important. We've talked about it in the Brew and have talked about it a lot before, is everyone tries to strive a work-life balance, but a balance doesn't actually ever exist. It's either all work or it's all family. You've got to do one or the other. If you blend the mix, it's just you're unsteady. Whereas if you go full in on work, full in on family, and that is what is then the work-life balance. So there's lots of kids who are doing martial arts. I've spent my life many years doing all sorts of different martial arts. Lots of the kids then want to go and have their martial arts schools or do things. Did you always want to do it then? Because you said that your dad, you said you wanted to, if you always wanted to do this, from what age?
So I started training when I was 10.
Okay.
Started sort of helping out in classes and things towards my later teens. When I was 18, I actually started my first martial arts class, which was in Hemel, Hempstead. And again, I don't want to say anything negative. My original instructor is fantastic, and I owe everything. Well, not everything. I owe so much to martial arts. But in terms of opening a school, etc., I had absolutely zero support at that time whatsoever. You know, I think I printed off 500 of my own flyers that I'd done on Word or something. And needless to say, the club, I managed to keep it open for, I think it was 4.5 months, but it failed massively. Interestingly, 3 months later, a guy who I used to train with opened a club in Hemel Hempstead. He's one of my best mates. I've been friends with him since then. And he has an almost identical business to mine, but in the North London area. I speak to him every week, but he actually he didn't realise that I'd opened and failed in Hemel Hempstead. And it was 3 or 4 months later that he opened and he's created the success. But he had a lot more support on the business level at that time.
Because you've been doing PROACTION a little while. You founded PROACTION in 2002.
Mm-hmm.
Now we fast forward to where we are now, and you've got multiple schools. The schools, even though they're closed, they're still open through online, are they now? They're all open.
Yeah. So the way we presented it to our membership was that we're not closed. We're simply moving our classes into your front room.
Okay. So on that, because of your business is very successful, it has had to completely change. The online thing has tested you. It's been very important to have a really good team around you that you obviously listen to and who aren't scared to tell you home truths, because for every business leader, the best thing is surround yourself with people who are better than you or who are able to tell you that's rubbish idea or no, that's not good. What advice then would you give your younger self?
My younger self, well, so personally, I was very unaware of, I think, everything. I wasn't very conscious of myself. So to work on yourself first, develop yourself into a more conscious, aware, mindful person. And in terms of business, I'm going to refer back to a tip my dad gave me, actually, because I think this can help all kinds of businesses. It's definitely not just martial arts related. Is that he's a mortgage advisor, or a financial advisor. He specializes in mortgages. And he didn't really, and apart from the very early days, kind of before and when I was born, but he didn't really ever work evenings or into the weekends. And when I realized what he did and, you know, what it was all about, I remember saying to him, well, how come, you know, this person wants to see me this time, they want a one-to-one session, and I'm going to have to get up at 5 o'clock in the morning, I'm going to be working till 10 o'clock at night, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And he said, well, you set your timetable. You set your rules. You deliver 100% quality, and people will work around you. And we've got a personal trainer who works in our gym who's one of your best mates, but some of my clients as well, and they stress and they panic over timetables, and lots of small businesses are kind of hustling late into the evenings and weekends with appointments and things like that. Do you know what? Deliver 100%, serve 100% quality, and when people ask you to fit around them, give them 3 options. I'm available then, and then. They'll make it work. So we have, and to relate that back to martial arts, we have people come in all the time and go, oh, well, your classes are on a Tuesday at this venue. We want that venue, but actually we have football on a Tuesday. Okay, great. What other nights is football available? You know, and we just turn it around, and they're like, well, I don't know. He does football on Tuesday. Fantastic. How can you possibly have a chat with his coach and see what other nights he could do his football training so that he can get the benefits from martial arts? But in whatever the business is, you know, work on yourself first, and create a structure that works for you, where you can still serve people to 100% quality.
Yeah. And that is awesome and so true, because funny enough, if I went back probably 15 years ago, so the media industry was very much, you work all the hours God gives you, sleep under, you know, it's absolutely chaos. And I had a tap on my shoulder. Ricky, you're going to wake up, you're going to be 40, and everyone close to you is not going to be around anymore. Mm. Like, whoa, okay. Anyway, carried on, kept on 2 years, London in and out. Then made that change and realized, you know, no one put on their tombstone, I wish I worked an extra hour.
Yeah.
And exactly. Actually, that point, that was from my dad, stopped and told all the agencies, all the companies, all that in London, these are our times, these are our hours, this is what we're doing. And they had to work around that. And that's, lots of businesses just think they've got to be busy and think they've got to work late and got to do through the night. And there's an element of that, but actually you do have to create and be disciplined in your own timetable. So interesting.
I believe we certainly with martial arts, but if you're in a service industry, you want to serve people, and then you're naturally inclined, aren't you, to kind of to almost become, you know, they're in control of you then, when actually you're running a small business because you want to be in control of your life. So be in control of your life, give them options, still serve them, and as long as you're giving great quality, people will still come.
That's great. That's awesome advice. Okay, so what? I've got two questions. What does success look like for you now? Then, what does success look like?
I think it's ever evolving. So it's a really, really difficult question to ask. And I think when you ask different people in different stages of their lives, you'd always get different answers, even from the same person, depending where they're at. And I think it was Tony Robbins who said it's a growth. And there's another quite famous saying of, you know, when you're green, you grow, and when you're ripe, you rot. So I'm going to say success means growth.
Okay.
And for me, I love a challenge. I love projects, which is why I fly off from one thing to the next, to the next, to the next. And I have to have people around me to go, stop, finish the one you're on. So I'm going to say growth, and that can apply then to whether it be family or business, you know, and if it's at home, growing that bond between you and your children, you and your partner, etc. But when you stop growing and things become stagnant, that's when things become boring. So for me, success, I'm going to say growth.
Growth. Okay, cool. Awesome. And my last question then really is, what do you want to be when you're older?
I'm never going to get older. Successful. No, I want to be, when I'm older, I'll tell you what I want to be. I want to be my dad.
You want to be your dad?
So he's got a family who love him very much. He's got a business which he still dips into. He's 72, but he still dips into when he wants. He goes on holiday very, very regularly, and he's happy. So yeah,
That's awesome. That's awesome, mate. Well, I'll give one question, because I saw a story today that was quite sad that I watched to the end, of a father in America who lost his son. His son committed suicide from he was playing Fortnite and he smashed his screen, and the lockdown just became too overwhelming. What advice would you give young people right now who are trapped in their rooms or trapped in these what advice would you give them? What would you give advice a young person right now?
I'm going to do this one quick because my wife has just said she has to go to work. She's got an appointment. As difficult as it is, so as I say, we've got 4 kids. So our eldest at the moment, they go to bed late, they're waking up late, and we're making allowances for that because the situation is what it is. Two things. First one, we almost all work better with structure, whether we like being told that or not. So create a structure that works for you. So that might mean you believe you work better by staying in bed all morning and then getting things done later at night. Fine, but put a structure in so you have that. And it needs to be a balanced structure physically and mentally. So I believe you've got to have some air, even if that's opening that bedroom window and, you know, when you're chatting to your mates or whatever, but get some fresh air, do some exercise, however short, and have a structured timetable in of things you need to get done, things you'd like to do. So yeah, you want to chat to your friends and whatever, that's fine. Just have a timetable in there so you've got some kind of purpose. And the second thing would be, if you're struggling, talk to somebody about it, whether that be friends, whether that be an adult, whoever, a support group, whatever, but talk to people.
Awesome. Okay, well, I know you've got to fly. Thank you very much for jumping on and sharing stuff. And how can everyone get hold of you? I'll put a link below anyway, but how can they get hold and hear from you?
They can Facebook's probably best, if I'm honest with you. Just search up me by my name. If you can't get anything on there, have a look on our website, which is Martial Arts Lessons, and you'll get through to me that way.
Awesome. Thank you very much, mate. If I've got some questions, I'll get people to put them in the comments and that below, and I'm sure you'll reach out. And
yeah, that'd be great. I'm happy to log on later and do that. And thank you very much for having me on. And I hope that something there has helped somebody. So thank you very much.
Awesome. Thank you very much, mate. Take care and keep safe.
Thank you. Bye-bye.